My name is Marcus Vale, and I am going to die tonight. That is what the other guards whisper. When they think I cannot hear them, they believe the traitors will strike soon. And when they do, the small human will be the first to fall. I know this, because I hear everything. The Valyrians do not know that human ears can pick up their low whispers through the translator in my collar. They think I am deaf to their mocking words. They are wrong. I stand at my post outside the great throne room of the Crystal Palace. My boots are polished, my uniform is pressed, my hand rests on the grip of my old earthside arm, a weapon the other guards laugh at. They carry glowing blades and gravity hammers. I carry a piece of metal that fires small chunks of lead. To them I am a joke, a pet, a gift from Earth that the Queen has to keep in her palace for the sake of politics. Tonight something feels wrong. The palace is too quiet. The bells that ring every hour through the crystal walls sound softer than they should. The air vents, which always hum with a low song, have gone silent in the last 10 minutes. The servant who brought wine to the hall an hour ago had shaking hands. His eyes would not meet mine. These small things do not matter to the tall guards around me, but they matter to me. A human notices small things. We have to. We are not the strongest creatures in the galaxy. We survive by watching. I stand 7 hands shorter than the Valyrian guards on either side of me. They are proud warriors, each one near 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and shining skin that changes color with their mood. Tonight their skin shows calm blue. They feel nothing, they see nothing. They laugh at the human between them, without even trying to hide it. Look at the little pet, one of them says in his low voice, thinking I cannot hear. He shakes in his small armor. I am not shaking, I am ready. The captain of the guard walks down the hall toward us. His name is Veshyar, and he has never spoken a kind word to me. He checks the posts, he nods to the other guards, he walks past me as if I am part of the wall. Then he does something strange. He leaves his post 3 minutes before the shift change. Captains do not leave early. Captains never leave early. I watch him go. My heart starts to beat faster. The doors of the throne room open, and Queen Ishaline Vorkasigan steps out. She is young, only 26 years in Earth time, and she has been queen for less than a year. Her father died in a hunting accident that some whisper was not an accident at all. She wears a long white gown with silver thread. Her 4 hands are folded in front of her. Her eyes, deep violet, find mine. Marcus, she says with a small smile, you look tired tonight. I am well, your majesty, I answer. I keep my voice flat and my eyes forward. A guard does not chat with the queen, even when she speaks first. You are a poor liar, she says softly. Walk with me to my chambers. The other guards stiffen. A queen does not ask a third-class guard to walk with her. They do not understand that she has done this many times when the court is not watching. She asks me about Earth, about my mother's garden, about why humans laugh when they are sad. I have answered all her questions over the past year. She listens. She is the only one in this palace who listens. I fall in beside her. We walk through the long halls lit by soft crystal light. My boots make small sounds on the floor. Her steps are silent as all Valyrian steps are. She is bright and I am a shadow beside her. I had a strange dream last night, she says. My uncle stood over me with a Smile that was not a smile. He asked if I would like to rest. I said I was not. Tired, he said, soon you will be. Then I woke up. I do not answer right away. The Lord, Regent Tharbak, her uncle, rules many of the outer worlds in her name. He is old. He is rich. He is very, very dangerous. I have seen the way he looks at her when she speaks in court, like a hungry thing, looking at a meal. Your Majesty, I say carefully, do you trust your uncle? She laughs, but the laugh is not happy. I trust him to do what is best for himself. We reach her chamber doors. Her handmaidens wait inside, ready to help her prepare for sleep. She turns to me before she enters. Marcus, if something ever happens in this palace, promise me you will not be brave for nothing. Promise me you will live. The words catch me off guard. I do not know how to answer a queen who asks me to save myself. Your Majesty, I say, I am a guard. My job is to stand between you and harm. That is what I promised when I took this post. She looks at me for a long moment. Her violet eyes are soft and sad. You are more than a guard to me. Marcus, you are the only one in this palace who tells me the truth. She goes inside. The doors close. I return to my post. The rest of my shift passes in silence. The palace grows darker as the night deepens. The great moon of our world, a pale green ring in the sky, rises. Outside the tall windows, I watch it. Through the glass, I think of Earth. I think of my mother who cried when I took this post because she thought I would be safe in a palace. I think of my father, who was proud. I think of the small town I grew up in and the dog I had when I was a boy and the taste of real earth bread. I think of anything to stay awake, because something in my chest is telling me not to sleep tonight. At the end of my shift, I walk back to my quarters in the servants' wing. Valyrians did not give me a room in the main barracks. They gave me a small room near the kitchens where the staff sleep. At first, I thought it was an insult. Over time, I saw it as a gift. The servants talk to me. They tell me things. They know every secret passage in this palace, every old tunnel, every hidden door. I have made friends among them, an old cook named Belen, a young gardener named Tilla, the master of the kitchens, a quiet man named Korik, who lost his son to the regent's tax collectors and has hated the regent ever since. Tonight, as I pass the kitchens, Korik is still awake. He stands in the doorway with his arms folded. He looks at me. He does not speak. He just gives me a small nod, the kind of nod that means something. I nod back. I do not know what it means, but I know it means something. I reach my small room. I remove my outer armor, but I keep my sidearm and my combat knife on the table beside my bed. I keep my boots on. I lie down on top of the blankets, not under them. I tell myself I am being foolish. I tell myself the palace is safe. Guards stand at every door. The queen is protected. But my chest will not let me sleep. I lie in the dark and listen. The bells ring the midnight hour, then the hour after, then the hour after that. I drift in and out of half sleep, my hand never far from my weapon. And then at the 4th hour past midnight, the bells stop ringing. I sit up in the dark. My heart is a drum in my chest. The bells always ring every hour. In a 1,000 years, the bells of the Crystal Palace have never failed to ring. They are tied to the palace power. If the bells are silent, the power is gone. And if the power is gone, so are the guard. Alarms, so are the door locks on the royal wing, so is every safety system. The queen depends on. I am on my feet before I finish the thought. I pull on my armor with quick, shaking fingers. I grab my sidearm, my knife, and on instinct I grab the small medical kit my mother sent me last year. I did not want to bring it tonight. Something told me I should. I open my door and step into the dark hallway. The lights are out. The air vents are dead. The palace is a tomb. From somewhere far away, down the long halls toward the royal wing, I hear a sound that freezes the breath in my chest. A scream. Her scream. I run. I run with my small heart beating like a war drum. I run past the dark kitchens. I run past the empty servant halls. I run toward a place where 15 of the best warriors in the Valyrian army stand between me and my queen. And I pray to any god that is listening that at least one of them is still loyal. Because if they are not, then I am the only one left. And I am only human. I know the halls of this palace better than any Valyrian guard. I spent 2 years walking them while they ignored me. I counted every door. I marked every corner. I learned which stones creaked and which vents carried sound. They thought I was a small, quiet pet. I was a human in a strange place, and humans learn their surroundings. It is how we live. I move now with all of that knowledge. I do not run down the main halls where the sound would give me away. I slip through a service corridor the nobles never see. It is narrow, dark, and built for staff to bring food and linen to the royal wing without being seen. My shoulders brush the walls on both sides. The air is still. I can hear my own breath. I reach the first junction and stop. I listen. Somewhere above me on the main floor, I hear the soft crack of a blade being drawn, then another, then the low, wet sound that comes when a blade meets a throat. I know that sound from the training videos we watched in the Earth military. I never wanted to hear it in real life. A Valyrian falls, then another. I hear final word cut short. The guards are dying, my fellow guards. The tall, proud warriors who laughed at me. They did not see this coming. I did. I bite down hard on my lip to keep my breathing quiet. Tears want to come. I push them away. There is no time. She is alive. I heard her scream. She is alive. And she needs me. I slip out of the service corridor into a small side hall. This is the back way to the royal chambers, a path used only by handmaidens and servants. If the traders are thorough, they will have a man here too. If they are smart, if they know the palace as well as I do. I peek around the corner. One guard stands at the small door. His back is to me. He is tall with 4 arms, wearing the dark armor of the regent's personal force. He holds a glowing blade in his lower right hand. The other 3 hands are free. He is listening to the sounds from the main hall where his friends are doing their work. He is not expecting anything from this direction. Why would he? The only threat from the servant's path is a small human who should be asleep in his bed. I draw my sidearm. My hands are steady. Now the shaking has stopped. Something happens to a human in a moment like this. The fear does not leave. It just becomes useful. It sharpens the mind. It steadies the hand. My old sergeant on Earth told me once that fear is a tool. A human who has mastered his fear is more dangerous than any creature in the galaxy because the creature expects the human to run. I do not run. I step out from behind the corner. He hears my footsteps and turns. His face shows pure shock. He was not told about the human. He opens his mouth to call out. I fire once. The sound of my earth weapon in the quiet hall is like a clap of thunder. Piece of lead travels faster than his reflexes. His head snaps back. He falls. His glowing blade rolls across the floor. I freeze. The sound of the shot will carry. They will know I am here. They will come. I do not have time to hide. I run for the queen's chamber door. It is barred from the inside. Good, she is alive and she is smart. I pound on the crystal with my fist. Your Majesty, it is Marcus. Open the door. No answer. My chest turns to ice. I pound again. Harder. Queen Ishelene, please. It is Marcus. Vale, I am alone. I am here to help you. A long pause, then slowly the bar on the other side slides back. The door opens a crack. Violet eyes look out at me. They are full of tears. Her hand holding a long ceremonial blade is covered in purple fluid that is not her own. She pulls me inside and bars the door again with her other 3 hands. The room is a terrible sight. 2 of her handmaidens lie on the floor. They will not rise again. 2 attackers lie beside them. The queen stands with the blade in her hand, still ready, her gown torn, a wound on her side that drips slowly onto the stone floor. She killed 2 trained warriors with a ceremonial blade meant for ceremony only. She is her father's daughter. Marcus, she breathes. My uncle it is. My uncle. They came through the balcony. They killed Lena and Vesca. I killed 2 of them, but more are coming. I can hear them in the halls. I know, I say. The bells stopped. Power is out. Your uncle planned this for a long time. Her eyes search my face. The other guards. I shake my head. Her eyes close. For a moment she is just a young woman who has lost friends. Then the queen returns. Her eyes open. They are hard and bright. What do we do, Marcus? I look at the wound on her side. It is deep but not bleeding heavily. It will slow her, but she can walk. Her gravity gauntlet, the weapon she wears on her wrist for defense, is shattered. She has only the ceremonial blade. I have my sidearm, my knife, and the fire of a human who will not let her die tonight. We run, I say. I know a way out of the palace, through the old servant tunnels. The regent does not know they exist. He has never spoken to a servant in his life. The tunnels go to where? To the old smuggler's path beneath the foundations, to the city, to a transport to anywhere but here. She nods once. I quickly take off the outer layer of my uniform jacket and press it against her wound. I tie it tight with a strap from my belt. She gasps at the pressure but does not cry out. Can you walk? I ask. I can run. Then run we will. Stay close to me. When I stop, you stop. When I move, you move. Do not speak unless I speak first. Your uncle sent trained killers. We will not beat them with strength. We must beat them with silence. She looks at me with something new in her eyes, not the kindness she always shows me. Something else, something like trust, like she sees me for the first time, not a pet, not a gift from earth. A soldier, her soldier. Lead the way, Marcus Vale. I lead. We slip out through the balcony, not the door. The main halls are full of dark shapes moving toward us. The balcony drops to a small garden 2 floors below, but there is a stone trellis. I Have noticed 100 times while bored. On my rounds, I climb down first. She follows, favoring her wounded side. Her 4 hands are a gift on the climb. She moves faster than I thought she could. We drop into the garden. I lead her through the hedges past the fountains that no longer work because the power is gone. And GT snorts. And GT, the green moon gives us just enough light to see. We reach the small door at the back of the garden, the one used by the gardeners. It is locked. I kick it, the old wood holds. I hear voices behind us. The killers have reached the balcony. They are climbing down. I kick the door again. This time the wood splits. Marcus, she whispers. I know. A third kick. The door breaks open. We slip through. The garden door leads to the garden shed where the tools are kept. From here, a trapdoor leads down to the tunnels. I know this because Tilla, the gardener, showed it to me once when we were both hiding from the rain. She thought I would find it funny. I found it useful. I pull up a stack of old pots. Beneath is a wooden trapdoor. I open it. A dark shaft drops into the ground. Down, I say. She goes first, her wound forgotten in the rush of the moment. I follow. I pull the trapdoor shut behind us and slide the heavy latch on the inside. Above us, I hear footsteps entering the shed. Voices searching. They will not find us, not yet. The dust on the floor will settle before they think to look for a trapdoor hidden under pots. I turn to the queen. She is bleeding. Again, my belt strap has come loose. I tie it again tighter. She winces but makes no sound. How far? She whispers. An hour on foot, maybe 2 with your wound. At the end of the tunnel is an old smuggler's hatch. It comes out in the lower city. From there we find a ship. A ship to where? I look at her in the dim blue light of the emergency crystals that line the tunnel wall. She is the queen of 12 worlds. She is wounded, tired, and more alone than she has ever been in her life. A ship to anywhere loyal, I say. You have friends in the outer colonies. We find them, we gather them, we come back. She nods slowly. She reaches out and touches my face with her upper right hand. It is a Valorian gesture of deep gratitude. I have seen it only once before, between a mother and her child. Lead on, Marcus Vale. I lead on. Behind us the palace is quiet, not the quiet of peace, the quiet of a beast that has finished its meal and is now looking for more. Ahead of us, only darkness in a long tunnel. The tunnel is cold and narrow. Water drips from the stone ceiling and echoes. In the dark, the blue emergency crystals give us just enough light to see our feet, no more. I hold the queen's upper right hand in my left hand. My right hand holds my sidearm. I count my steps. I count her breaths. I listen for sounds. Behind us, we have been moving for 20 minutes when she stumbles. I catch her before she falls. Her wound has opened again. Purple fluid soaks through my makeshift bandage. Her face is pale and her iridescent skin has turned a dull gray that worries me more than any words could. We rest, I say. No, we keep moving. Your Majesty, if you fall and cannot rise, we both die here. We rest 5 minutes, no more. She looks at me, she nods. I help her sit against the cold wall. I open the small medical kit my mother sent me. I pull out a clean pad, a pressure wrap, and a small vial of earth antiseptic. The Valorians use regenerative gel. We humans still use the old ways. I clean the wound as gently as I can. She hisses through her teeth. I wrap it tight with a new bandage, good human. Cloth made for battlefield wounds. You know field medicine, she says. It is half a question and half surprise. Every human soldier learns it, I say. On my world, we do not have medical machines for every wound. We learn to keep each other alive with what fits in our pockets. Why? Because sometimes there is no one else. She is quiet for a long time. I finish the wrap and sit back on my heels. I listen to the tunnel behind us far in the distance. I hear faint sounds. Boots on stone, voices low and searching. They have found the trapdoor. They are coming. How did you know about these tunnels? She asks. The servants told me. Why did they tell you? Because I asked, because I spoke to them, because I learned their names and they learned mine. She closes her eyes. My uncle never learned a servant's name in his life. I know. She laughs a small, tired laugh, and that is why he will lose. He does not know his own palace. You do. We have not one yet, Your Majesty. No, but we will. I help her to her feet. We move on. The tunnel bends and twists. At one point, we cross an underground stream on slippery stones. At another, we pass through a chamber where old crates sit. Stacked against the wall, the smugglers' gear from 100 years ago, left to rot. I find an old lantern that still has oil. I light it with a small spark from my sidearm's ignition. Now we have better light. The Queen walks beside me in silence for a long time. I can tell she is in pain, but she does not complain. She was raised in a palace with every comfort, but she is her father's daughter, and he was a soldier before he was a king. Marcus, she says softly after we have walked for another half hour, tell me about your mother. I blink. It is a strange question for this moment, but I understand. She is trying to keep herself alert. She is trying to stay with me. I give her what she asks for. My mother is a small woman, I say. Smaller than most humans. She has gray hair now. She laughs too loud when she is happy. She cooks the best bread on our street. When I told her I was taking this post, she cried for 3 days. Then she baked me a loaf of bread to take with me on the ship. She said, if you are brave enough to go to the stars, you are brave enough to take my bread with you. I ate the last piece on my second day in this palace. I have thought about it every day since. The Queen smiles. She sounds wonderful. She is. And your father? My father is quiet. He does not speak much, but the day I left he held me tight and said, come home, son. No matter what, come home. I promised him I would. She stops walking. She looks at me with those violet eyes. Marcus, I'm going to make sure you keep that promise. You will see your parents again. I swear it on my crown. I want to thank her. I want to say something brave and true, but a sound behind us cuts off my words. A loud, sharp sound, a weapon being fired, then another, voices closer now. They have seen our lantern light against the tunnel wall in the distance. Run, I say. We run. She runs faster than I thought she could, even wounded. I run beside her, the lantern swinging in my left hand. The tunnel is straight here with no corners to hide behind. If they get close enough to aim, they will hit us. A bolt of blue light flies past my head. and hits the wall ahead. Stone explodes. Chips cut my cheek. I feel blood but do not stop. Turn right, I shout. I remember there is a side passage coming up, an old drainage tunnel that branches off. It is smaller than the main path, but it will slow our pursuers and give us a chance to lose them. She sees it before I point. She dives into the side passage. I follow. We scramble down the narrow pipe, which is half filled with old dust and debris. It smells terrible. My uniform tears on a sharp stone. I feel a scrape along my leg. I do not care. We come out into a small chamber. 3 tunnels branch off from it. I point to the middle one. The left goes deeper into the foundations. The right goes to the old wine cellars of a noble house. The middle goes to the lower city. Tilla told me, Tilla the gardener who will never know she saved her queen tonight. We take the middle. The voices behind us are muffled by the side passage. They are still coming, but slowly. They do not know which way we went. We have bought ourselves a few minutes. After another 10 minutes, we reach a wooden door set in the stone wall. It is old. It is sealed. It has no lock, just a heavy bar on our side. I lift the bar. The door opens onto a narrow alley in the lower city. We step out into the night. The door closes behind us. I lower the bar back into place from the outside by using a hidden lever Tilla showed me. If they come through, they will have to break the door. It will take time. The lower city is a different world from the palace. Narrow streets, low buildings, strange lights, and stranger smells. Valorians of the working class live here, along with members of a dozen other species who have come to this world for work. No one looks twice at a short human leading a tall, wounded Valorian woman wearing a torn gown. In this part of the city, people have learned not to ask questions. I lead the queen down 3 alleys, always turning, always moving away from the palace. I remove her jewelry and tuck it into my pocket. It is too bright, too royal. I wrap her in my uniform jacket, which hides the fine fabric of her gown. She leans on me now, her strength fading. We need a ship. I know where to find one. There is a shipping yard on the edge of the lower city where old cargo haulers sit waiting for work. Not fancy ships, not palace ships, old, dirty, honest ships that take goods to the outer colonies and ask no questions if the price is right. I have been there once, on a trip with Korik, the kitchen master, who was buying spices from a trader. I remember the man who runs the yard, a Valorian with a missing eye who lost his son in the same tax raid that took Korik's son. A man who hates the regent with all his heart. I lead the queen through the back streets toward the shipping yard. She is nearly on my shoulder now, her steps unsteady. I whisper to her to stay with me, to stay awake, to stay strong. She whispers back that she is trying. We reach the yard. The man with the missing eye is sitting by a small fire, drinking from a clay cup. He looks up. When he sees us, his good eye goes wide. When he sees the queen, he stands. He bows low, all 4 arms touching the ground. Your Majesty, he says. Please, I say quickly. We need a ship tonight, now to the outer colonies, to loyal hands. He looks at me. He looks at her wound. He looks at the sky where palace ships are just beginning to take flight in the distance, searching the city. For my son, he says quietly, and for my rightful queen, I will fly you myself. He turns and runs toward the largest of the old ships in the yard. I help the Queen follow. She is barely walking now. I half carry her up the ramp. Inside, the ship is old and rough, but the engines hum as the one-eyed man powers them up. Within 2 minutes we are rising into the night sky. The Crystal Palace falls away below us, a broken jewel in the dark. I sit beside the Queen on a rough cargo crate. I hold her hand, her eyes close. "Marcus," she whispers, "I am here. Thank you. Rest, Your Majesty, we are safe for now." She rests. The ship carries us up through the clouds into the stars. Behind us, somewhere in that dark palace, a regent is realizing his prey has slipped his trap. He will come for us. I know he will. And I will be ready. We have been in the outer colonies for 6 days when the regent finds us. I should have known he would. A man does not seize a throne and then rest while the rightful queen lives. He sent ships. He sent spies. He sent gold to anyone who might whisper our location. The one-eyed captain had flown us to a small moon at the edge of known space, a rough mining colony called Hessler's Rest, where loyalist nobles had quietly gathered after hearing whispers of the coup. Lady Vesca of the northern clans, old General Morath, retired these past 10 years. A dozen other nobles who still wore the Queen's colors under their cloaks. For 6 days the Queen rested and healed. She wore the regenerative bandages the loyalists brought. Her skin returned to its bright color. Her strength came back faster than I expected. She held meetings. She planned. She sent secret messages to other worlds. Word spread through the outer colonies that the Queen lived, that the regent was a false ruler, that the rightful heir was gathering her forces. I stood at her side the whole time. I did not sleep more than 3 hours at a stretch. I ate food I could not name. I watched every door. I watched every new face. I trusted no one. On the 7th day, I was right to be careful. We were in a small meeting room in the mining colony's main hall. The Queen sat at the head of a stone table with General Morath on her right and Lady Vesca on her left. 6 other loyalists filled the other chairs. I stood behind the Queen, my hand on my sidearm, my eyes moving constantly. A young noble named Prince Tavar was speaking about ship movements in the outer sector. And GT snorts. And GT. He was handsome, smooth-voiced, and too eager. He had arrived 2 days ago, claiming to be the son of a duke who had been loyal to the old king. The Queen had welcomed him. The others had welcomed him. I had not. Something about him was wrong. I could not say what. His eyes did not match his smile. His words flowed too easily. When he spoke of his father, he called him by the wrong title, a small thing, the kind of thing a son would never get wrong, the kind of thing a spy pretending to be a son might miss. As he spoke, his lower right hand slipped beneath the table. I had been watching that hand for the last 3 minutes. It did not return. I saw the tendon in his wrist tighten. I saw his shoulder shift. I saw his other 3 hands move to hold the table as if to brace himself. In Valorian combat training, this is the stance taken just before a fast strike. He reached into his robe. I moved. I was moving before the blade cleared his cloak. I drew my sidearm and fired. Once over the Queen's shoulder, the sound of the earth weapon filled the small room like thunder. The shot struck Him in the chest, exactly where the heart of a Valorian sits. He dropped the blade he had been pulling out. He fell backward. He did not rise again. The room went silent. Every Valorian at the table stared at me with shocked eyes. Then they looked at the blade on the floor. It was a slim silver thing, shaped for one purpose only. It was a palace assassin's blade, the kind carried only by the regent's personal killers. General Mareth stood slowly. He walked to the body. He knelt beside it and pulled back the dead man's sleeve. On the inner wrist was a small mark, black spiral, the mark of the regent's shadow hand. A spy, the general said. His voice shook with anger. We welcomed a spy to our table. Lady Veska turned to me. Her iridescent skin shifted through many colors at once, a sign of shock and respect mixed together. How did you know? He called his father by the wrong title, I said. He said Lord Breivik instead of Duke Breivik. A son does not forget his father's title. The general stared at me. In all my 60 years of service, I have never seen such a small detail save a queen's life. The queen rose from her chair. She was shaking, but not from fear, from anger. She walked around the table to stand in front of me. She looked up into my eyes. Her violet gaze held mine. Marcus Vale, she said, you have saved my life 3 times in 7 days. No Valorian has ever done as much for any queen in our history. I bowed my head. I did my duty. You did more than your duty. She turned to face the room. Her voice rose, strong and clear, the voice of a queen who has decided something and will not be moved. Hear me, all of you. This human who stands no higher than my chest has seen what none of you saw. He has fought when none of you could. He has bled for me when my own blood turned against me. From this moment on, Marcus Vale is not my third-class guard. He is the captain of my personal guard. He will command all who protect my life. He will speak with my voice in matters of my safety, and any noble who questions this will answer to me. Silence. Then General Mareth, the old warrior, dropped to one knee, then Lady Veska, then every other noble in the room. They bowed to the queen, and then, one by one, they bowed to me. I did not know what to do, a human soldier from Earth being bowed to by Valorian nobles older than my great-grandfather. I wanted to tell them to stop, but I understood that this was not for me. This was for her. This was a statement that the queen's word was law, and I was her word made flesh. I stood straight. I bowed back to them. A slight bow, the kind a captain gives his equals. The general's eyes met mine, and he nodded approvingly. That night the queen and I stood on a balcony of the mining colony's main hall. The stars burned cold and bright above the small moon. The queen held a cup of warm spiced tea. I held a cup of water. I did not drink while on duty, and I was always on duty now. Marcus, she said softly, looking at the stars, I have been thinking about your name. My name. Vale. In my language there is an old word Vale which means shield, and N which means sworn. Together Valen, it means one who stands between their lord and death. It is a word we have not used in 400 years. The last Valen died protecting a queen from her own brother. I read the story when I was a child. I did not think I would live to see another. I did not know what to say. I felt a weight on my shoulders, heavy and cold, and honored all at once. Your Majesty, I am not a legend. I am a soldier from Earth. You are both, she said simply, whether you want to be or not. She turned to me. Her eyes were soft in the starlight. Marcus, when we return to the palace, and we will return, the galaxy will see something it has never seen, a human at the right hand of a Valorian queen, not as a gesture, not as a pet, as a Valen. The first in 4 centuries. I thought about this, I thought about what my mother would say, and my father, and the boy I used to be, and the soldier I had become. I thought about Korik, the kitchen master, who had given me a nod that night, and Tilla, the gardener, who had shown me the trapdoor, and the one-eyed captain who had flown us to safety. None of them were nobles. None of them were warriors. They were ordinary people who had chosen to stand against the regent because a small human had listened to them. Your Majesty, I said, if I am to be this Valen, I have one request. Name it. When we return, I want the servants honored too. Korik, Tilla, the one-eyed captain, they saved you as much as I did. Without them I would have been only a human with a weapon. With them I was your shield. She smiled. There were tears in her eyes, but they did not fall. It will be done, Marcus. On my crown it will be done. A door opened behind us. General Morath stepped out onto the balcony. His old face was grim. Your Majesty, news from the core world. Your uncle has declared himself Regent King. He claims you are dead. He is crowning himself in 3 days. The Queen's face turned hard. The softness of the moment was gone. The Queen returned. 3 days, she said. Marcus, how long? Until we can gather our ships and return to the capital. I had been listening to the generals' reports for days. I had been counting ships and fighters and pilots. I had been planning without planning because this moment was always coming. 3 days, I said, is enough, barely. If we leave at dawn, and if we take the fast route through the asteroid belt, and if Lady Veska's fleet meets us at the 5th moon, we can reach the capital on the morning of the crowning. The general stared at me. You have planned this already? I have been planning it since the night we escaped the palace, sir. He let out a long breath, then he laughed, a short, amazed laugh. Your Majesty, I understand now why you made this human your captain. He thinks like a general. He thinks like a human, the Queen said, which is, it seems, close enough. That night I did not sleep. I stood at the Queen's door while she tried to rest. I planned the final movements. My head, I wrote messages to the loyal captains. I sent a coded message through the one-eyed man's trading network to Korik, the kitchen master, telling him to be ready, telling him to gather the servants of the palace, telling him that his queen was coming home and she would need every friend inside those crystal walls. At dawn, we boarded the ships, 40 vessels of varying sizes, 3,000 soldiers, a handful of nobles, Queen, 1 human captain. We flew toward the capital world, toward the palace, toward a man who thought he had already won. I stood beside the Queen on the bridge of the flagship. She wore her royal armor now, silver and white, with the sign of her house on her chest. She carried a new gravity gauntlet on her wrist and a proper war blade at her side. She was no longer the wounded woman in a torn gown. She was a queen, ready to take back her throne. She looked at me. I wore a new uniform, too, no longer the plain 3rd class Uniform, now I wore the colors of the Queen's own guard, a uniform that had not been made in 400 years. The general himself had supervised its design. On my chest was a new mark. Small shield with an earth sun rising. Behind it, the mark of the Valen. "Are you ready, Marcus?" she asked. I looked at her. I thought of my mother's bread. I thought of my father's words. I thought of the promise I had made to come home. "I am ready, my queen," I said. "Let us finish this." The fleet engaged their jump drives. Stars bent, the capital world rose before us, and I knew in the deep quiet place of my heart that before the sun set on this world I would either stand beside a queen who had taken back her throne, or I would lie with the dead who had tried. Either way, I would keep my promise. The sky over the capital was on fire. Lady Veska's fleet had arrived exactly where I had planned at the fifth moon. 2 hours before we reached the capital world, her ships had engaged the region's orbital defense platforms, the platforms loyal to the region only. Through fear had surrendered faster than I had dared to hope. 3 of their commanders had switched sides the moment they saw the Queen's colors. Word of her return had spread like fire in dry grass. For 6 days, the loyalist network I had helped the Queen build had been whispering in every port, every station, every barracks. Now the whispers had become a roar. But the regent was not finished. His personal fleet of 12 warships met us in the high atmosphere of the capital world. These were not the loyal navy. These were his own ships, crewed by his own people, loyal to him alone. They had one purpose: stop the Queen before she reached the palace. The battle in the sky was brief and terrible. I watched it from the bridge of the flagship, standing beside the Queen, who was on the command platform. General Morath directed our forces with the cold skill of a man who had fought in 3 wars. Ships met ships, fighters swarmed. The sky above the capital city was a web of light and smoke. We lost 6 ships, the regent lost 9. In the end, 3 of his warships surrendered. Their captains came on the communication channel and swore their loyalty to the rightful Queen. I stood beside her as she accepted their surrender with grace. Her voice did not shake, her hands did not tremble, but her eyes, when she glanced at me for one short moment, held all the fear she would not show anyone else. I gave her the smallest nod. "You are not alone. I'm here." We landed in the capital city at the great military port, which had also turned to our side once the fleet battle went our way. Loyal soldiers met us with cheers. The Queen walked through them like a light moving through darkness. I walked 2 steps behind her, my eyes on every window, every rooftop, every face. The palace was 3 miles away. The regent was inside, preparing to crown himself. In 2 hours, the great bells of the crowning hall would soon begin to ring. The same bells that had gone silent on the night of the coup. He meant to use them to announce his reign. We did not have 2 hours to march. General Morath wanted to assault the main gate with our full force. I looked at the old maps I had studied every night since we had fled. I shook my head. "No, sir," I said. "The main gate is where he will put his strongest defenses. If we attack there, we will lose 1,000 good soldiers in the first hour. And even if we break through, we may not reach him before he completes the crowning. Once crowned, even a false king has the loyalty of Laws and nobles who do not know his true face, we must prevent the crowning at any cost. What do you propose? The queen asked. A small strike force, 10 of our best soldiers, me the queen. We go through the servant tunnels the same way we escaped. Korik the kitchen master has sent word. The servants have been preparing for 6 days. The tunnels are clear, the back halls are clear. They have killed or bound the regents. Watchmen inside the palace itself. The regent does not know. He has been watching the sky. He has not been watching his own kitchens. The general stared at me. The servants have done this. The servants, I said, are the ones who see everything. They just need someone to give them a reason. Lady Veska smiled. You gave them a reason, human. The queen gave them a reason, I said. I only asked. The plan was agreed. 10 soldiers, handpicked by General Marath, the queen. Myself, we moved out through the city. Streets in plain clothes over our armor. In a small covered cart that Korik's contacts had arranged, the streets were chaos. Some people cheered when they saw our colors in the sky, others hid in their homes. The city did not know yet which way the wind would blow. We reached the gardener's shed on the back edge of the royal grounds, the one I had broken the door of 7 days ago. Door had been repaired, then left unlocked. Tilla had seen to it. Inside the shed, the pots had already been moved. The trapdoor stood open. We went down. The tunnels felt different now. 7 days ago, I had led a wounded queen through them in fear. Now I led an armed queen through them with 10 soldiers behind us. We moved quickly. We moved silently. Every step brought us closer to the palace, to the crowning hall, to the man who had taken everything from her. 40 minutes later, we came up through a hidden panel in a back kitchen. Korik was there, along with a dozen servants, with makeshift weapons, kitchen knives, old cleaning staves, pots and pans. They were the strangest army I had ever seen. They bowed when they saw the queen, all 4 hands touching the floor. The queen's eyes shone. She walked to Korik. She took his face between her 2 upper hands, a gesture of deep love and respect. He wept. Your Majesty, he whispered. Korik, she said, when this day is done, your son will be remembered in every song of this land. He nodded. He could not speak. I pulled out the palace map I had drawn from memory. The queen and the general gathered around. The crowning hall is here, I said, pointing. The regent will be inside with his personal guard, 50 of them, maybe 60, armored, armed, ready for attack from the main doors. But there is a side entrance here used by the musicians who play during ceremonies. It is not guarded heavily. 2, maybe 3 men. Why only 2 or 3? The general asked. Because the musicians are servants, I said, and the regent does not think about servants. The general nodded slowly. We strike from the musicians' entrance. Yes, sir. We moved up through the palace halls, led by a young servant named Genla, who knew every corner. We met one of the regent's men on the way. He saw us. He opened his mouth to shout. A kitchen knife thrown by Korik struck him. Before he could make a sound, he dropped. Korik retrieved his knife and cleaned it on the dead man's cloak. Without a word, I understood then that Korik had done this before, perhaps long ago, in a war we did not speak of. We reached the musicians' entrance. I peered through the curtain. The crowning hall was exactly as I had expected. 50 of the regent's guards in 2 lines. Nobles in the galleries, some there. Willingly, some clearly under threat. The regent himself stood on the raised platform at the far end, dressed in royal robes, a crown already in his hands. He was about to place it on his own head. The ceremonial bells were about to ring. There was no time for a careful plan. I turned to the Queen. "Your Majesty, stay behind me until I say otherwise. When I give the word, step out, speak. Let them see you, let them hear you. That is your weapon. My weapon is different." She nodded. She drew her blade. I gave the signal to General Morath. He raised his hand. The 10 soldiers readied their weapons. Korik and the servants stood ready behind us. "Now," I said. I stepped through the curtain. I did not try to be quiet. I fired my sidearm into the ceiling. The thunder of the old earth weapon filled the great hall. Every head turned. The regent on the platform froze. His hands held the crown above his head. His face, which had been so smooth and confident a moment ago, twisted into something uglier as he saw me. "The human," he hissed. "The human," I agreed. I stepped aside. The Queen walked out. From behind me, she held her blade low. Her armor caught the light of the crowning torches. Her violet eyes burned. "Uncle," she said. The hall erupted. The regent's guards raised their weapons. Our 10 soldiers, along with the general, came out from the curtain with weapons ready. Nobles in the galleries gasped and shouted. Some fell to their knees when they saw the Queen alive. Others ran for the doors. The regent's guards did not know what to do. Half of them turned toward us, half of them turned toward their master on the platform, waiting for orders. In that moment of confusion, I moved. I ran straight for the platform, straight for the regent. The general shouted for me to wait, but I did not wait. I knew what I had to do. While the Queen and the general held the guards, I had to reach the false king before he could escape. His royal robes hid a fast gravity belt, the kind used for quick escape. If he touched it, he could vanish from this hall in a heartbeat. I had to reach him before he touched it. 2 of his personal guards stepped into my path. They were tall, armored with glowing blades. I did not slow down. I fired twice. One fell, the other brought his blade down at me. I slid under his strike, my boots sparking on the polished floor. I came up behind him and fired once more. He fell 3 meters from the platform. The regent's hand moved toward his belt. I threw my combat knife. It turned end over end through the air. It was a throw I had practiced 1,000 times in the training yards of Earth, a throw the other guards had laughed at because no civilized warrior would use something as primitive as a thrown blade. The knife struck the regent's hand, pinning his sleeve to his robe, stopping him from touching the belt for 1 critical second. He cried out. He pulled at the knife with his other 3 hands. I reached the platform. I leaped onto it. I faced him. He was 3 feet taller than me. He had 4 arms. He was one of the strongest warriors of his generation. I was a human with an empty sidearm and 1 knife pinning his sleeve to his robe. He smiled. It was a cold, terrible smile. "You will die here, little human," he said, "and no one will remember your name." "My name," I said, "is Marcus Vale, and you will remember it." He struck. I moved. I have said this before, and I will say it again. The Valyrians are faster, stronger and better armed than humans. But they are not better trained and ugly. Fighting, they fight with honor, they fight with grace, they fight like their ancestors fought with form and style. I fight like a human, I fight to win. I ducked under his first strike, I kicked his knee. The knee of a Valyrian is a weak point because there clears throat, legs hold so much weight. He staggered. I grabbed the handle of my knife, still in his sleeve, and twisted it sideways, cutting through the fabric and slashing his wrist open. He roared. He swung at me with his lower left hand. I let him hit me. I took the blow across my shoulder. Pain exploded down my arm. Something broke. I did not care. I used the force of his own blow to spin myself behind him. I pulled the knife free from the cloth. I drove it upward into the gap where his neck armor met his shoulder, the same gap I had noticed 6 months ago at a state banquet when a servant had helped him adjust the piece. He froze, his 4 hands clutched at his throat. He tried to speak, he could not. He fell to his knees, then to the floor. He did not rise. The crowning crown, which had been in his hand, rolled across the platform and stopped at the queen's feet. She had come up behind me without me noticing. Her soldiers had overwhelmed his guards. The general stood with his blade red. Lady Veska had arrived with reinforcements through the main doors, which had been opened from the inside by Coric's servants. The battle was over. It had lasted less than 3 minutes. The hall went silent. The queen bent and picked up the crown. She looked at it for a long moment, then she walked to the center of the platform. She turned to face the nobles, and the soldiers and the servants, and the dead and the living. She raised the crown above her head. "I am Queen Ishelene Vorkasigan," she said, and her voice filled the hall. "Rightful ruler of the 12 worlds, daughter of King Coric, who was loved, niece of the man who lies at my feet, who was not, I place this crown upon my own head as my father did before me, and as his mother did before him. I place it here with my own hands, because the hands that would have stolen it from me have been stopped by a human who was braver than all of them combined." She placed the crown on her head. She stood tall. Then she turned to me. I was on my knees now. My shoulder was broken. I had not noticed I was bleeding from a dozen small cuts. My old earth sidearm was empty in my good hand. I looked up at her and smiled a tired smile. "Your Majesty," I said. She knelt in front of me. A queen in her crowning robes knelt before a wounded human soldier in a hall full of nobles. "Marcus Vale," she said softly, but her voice carried through the silent hall. "You have served me beyond measure. You have saved my life 4 times. You have saved my throne. You have saved my kingdom. Tonight, before all who stand here, I name you Lord Protector of the Crown, first of the Valen in 400 years, Captain of the Queen's own guard. You will stand at my right hand for as long as you draw breath, and when your time comes, you will be buried with honors that no foreign guest in this palace has ever received." The hall erupted. The nobles cheered. The servants wept. Coric dropped to his knees and covered his face with his hands. Tilla the gardener, who had slipped into the hall with the servants, clapped her hands until they must have hurt. I looked at the queen. My eyes were wet. I did not try to hide it. "Your Majesty," I said, "I only wanted to do my job." "And in doing your job," she said, "you did the job of 100 warriors and a 1,000 nobles and every guard who stood at my door and died when the bells went silent. You did more than your job. Marcus, you became what the stars rarely see, a single good person in the right place at the right time with the courage to act. That is the rarest thing in the galaxy, and it wore the face of a human. Tonight, she helped me to my feet. The healers came. They carried me away to tend to my shoulder and my cuts. I heard the Queen's voice as they carried me off, already beginning the work of rebuilding, already giving orders, already being what she was meant to be. 3 weeks later, I stood in the palace garden. The crystal spires had been cleaned. The bells rang every hour. Again, my shoulder was healed thanks to a mix of Valyrian medicine and a new shoulder joint made just for human bodies by the palace's finest craftsmen. I wore my new uniform, the uniform of the Valen. The Queen walked beside me through the flowers. She carried a small object in her upper right hand, a piece of paper, an Earth letter. My mother had sent it through the diplomatic channels. Now that the news had reached Earth, she had cried with joy when she heard I was alive. She had written me a letter asking when I was coming home. You may go home if you wish, the Queen said. She handed me the letter. I will not hold you here against your heart. You have more than earned your rest. I took the letter. I held it in my hand. I thought about my mother's garden. I thought about my father's quiet pride. I thought about the town I grew up in and the dog I had when I was a boy and the taste of real earth bread. I thought about Tilla, who now worked in the royal gardens. I thought about Korik, who was now the master of the royal kitchens with 20 cooks under him. I thought about the one-eyed captain who now ran a fleet of honest trading ships with the Queen's personal seal. I thought about the Queen who was slowly changing 1,000 years of Valyrian tradition, quietly, kindly, firmly, a queen who was becoming great. Your Majesty, I said, when I took this post, my father told me to come home no matter what. I promised him I would. She nodded slowly. Her eyes held sorrow. But she did not try to stop me. Then you must keep your promise. But he did not say when, I said. Smiling at her, he did not say how soon, and my mother in her letter wrote one line that changed everything. Would you like to hear it? Read it to me. I unfolded the letter. I found the line. I read it aloud. She wrote, Marcus, wherever you find someone who needs a good person, that place is also your home. Stay as long as they need you. Come to me when you are ready. I will wait. The Queen's eyes filled with tears. She did not let them fall. So you are staying, she whispered. I am staying, I said, for now, for as long as you need me. I will visit Earth. I will see my parents, but this palace, this court, this Queen, she needs a human shield, and I am the only one I know. She turned and looked at the sky. Green ring of her moon was rising. The bells of the palace rang the hour. The Snort's crystal spires caught the light of her world's 2 setting suns. It was beautiful. It was quiet. It was peaceful. They used to call you a pet, she said softly. They did. They will never call you that again. No, Your Majesty, they will not. She smiled. She reached out and took my hand in her upper right hand. A queen, holding the hand of a human in the gardens of her palace. Walk with me, Marcus. Tell me about your mother's garden. And I walked and I told her, and the stars came out above the crystal palace. and somewhere in the palace kitchens, Korik was cooking dinner, and somewhere in the palace gardens, Tilla was planting new seeds, and somewhere in the sky above the capital, the one-eyed captain was flying his ship on a peaceful trade route. And in the quiet heart of me, I knew that when the palace had fallen silent, only the human had remained to guard the queen, and the galaxy was learning what that meant, and the galaxy would never forget. The end.